Hello. Welcome back to the stream. We're back again. Took a little bit of a holiday break, I guess you could say. I haven't streamed in a couple weeks, but holidays was busy. Hung out with family, had some other things. Plus, I just released a video. And so I was really working on that. Wanted to get that out before the end of the year. And that video has done really well. So I'm happy about that. Can everybody hear me and see me okay? What's up, Big? I was going to say Big Jeff, but I don't think that's what that says. Big E Oof? You can't hear. What's up, Fuzzy Numbers? What's up, Tone Choir? But yeah, we took a couple weeks off, but we're gonna try to get back into the groove of streaming again in 2026. For those who don't know, I try to stream every Friday and also every Thursday. On Thursday, I usually do a gaming stream. But Fridays we just kind of chill. Got me a soda. Or as a pop, as they say up north. It's working, maybe YouTube lag. That's possible. There's also a lot of new subscribers now, so wouldn't be surprised if curious people show up to the chat. What's up, Twiggy? Is the biggest motivating factor for being a creative you have now the same as when you started? The biggest motivating factor. I don't know if I can individually specify a single biggest motivating factor. But I mean, it's all related. Assuming you're talking about well, I mean, I think creative people just want to create stuff. And I mean, that's still the main thing, you know? I think there's a certain type of people. Well, I mean, I think everybody likes making stuff. I think that's like human nature. It feels good to put something in the world that didn't exist before. But I think some people are just like, they can't not do it. And I think that I'm one of those people. And I think, yeah, that's been the same the whole time. Like, I think a lot of, as a YouTuber, I think a lot of people use YouTube for purposes other than being creative, which is fine. I mean, some people do YouTube just, as a job. Some people do it for informational purposes. Some people do it for political purposes. And some people do it because they can't not do it, or they can't not be creating something. And YouTube is an outlet for that. And I think that applies to me. More Disco Elysium next Thursday. That is the plan. I'm not sure. I don't think I have anything going on next week. So yeah, that is the plan. Yeah, for those that don't know, I've been very slowly making my way through Disco Elysium on stream. which turns out is not a great game to stream. But I didn't know that before I started. I just decided to play it because a lot of people recommended that I play it. I think because it's kind of a cerebral game, and I think people think of me as kind of a cerebral guy. But it's still been fun. A lot of people seem to really love that game. You should be a Coles model? Really? I don't think I've heard that one before. You need to individualize, specify. I don't know. I don't understand what you mean. My new favorite YouTube? I appreciate that. I love your videos. Thank you. Do you think it would be interesting if AI let us create our own fan fiction, headcanon versions of TV shows and movies? Do I think it would be interesting? It's hard to think about because the AI technology as it is now is not good at making good stuff. So it would be really cringe and creepy if we did it now, and I don't want that. But maybe in the future. But I don't know. I think that might be a little bit insulting to the original creators, because like, hey, we remade your thing. We didn't like what you did before, so we remade it. So that might be a little rude. Um, yeah, probably. I don't know. My initial leaning is like we probably shouldn't do that. Eyeliner model. Have I seen Triangles of Sadness movie on HBO? I have not. Is there a place for a hopeless sinner who has hurt all mankind just to save his own? Is that a reference that I don't get? Oh, that's a Bob Marley lyric. I can see you on Cole's magazine cooking hot dogs. Cool dad shorts available at Cole's now. I mean, if you say so. I don't see it, but I only have my own perspective. I can tell you one thing. I almost never wear shorts, even during the summer. I'm not a shorts guy normally. I maybe wear shorts like one day out of the year. Some days I just feel like changing it up, but yeah, I'm not really a shorts guy. Why do we need AI for it? I can do it. Yeah, I was gonna say like plenty of people make like their own parodies where they play the characters, or like animated recreations, or just written fan fiction, and that's cool because there's an added element of creativity. You're performing, you're writing, uh you're reinterpreting something. But if you just literally like type in, I want Joey and Phoebe to get together, and then just let AI make it, like, I don't know, that's kind of cringe. But it's hard to imagine using today's technology, because if we did it now, it would be really bad. But obviously AI is going to keep getting better and better, so who knows. There's definitely 100% going to be a future where there are full AI movies and full AI TV shows. Like, that's 100% going to happen. I don't know how long it's going to take before they're like good. or like not even good, but like good enough that people will consume it. Because we've already achieved that with like art and like music and writing, where it's not good, but it's good enough that people consume it. But I don't think we're there with video or you know, like long form video. I just watched your Kevin can F himself video and subbed after that. I like your work. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes, that video, a lot of people like that video, and I appreciate that. There's a lot of new subscribers. So if you're one of those new subscribers, hello and welcome to the channel. Every now and then we do chill live streams like this. Try to do it every Friday. And yeah, that's kind of what this channel is. I just talk about TV shows. At least that's what I've been doing lately. Obviously, I give myself room to do other stuff if it's interesting to me and if I think people will like it. Yes, those are Bob Marley lyrics, but I'm still curious. You're curious if there's a place for a hopeless sinner who has hurt all mankind just to save his own. A place where? On Earth? I think that there's room for redemption for everyone. I got to create something every day. It's an addiction, one of my last addictions, but I'm keeping it. Yeah, for some people it's just like you just can't not do it. And sometimes, you know, I don't think people are just like necessarily born like that. I think everyone has imagination and creativity inside of them. But I think just over time you just become obsessed with being a creator or being an artist or expressing yourself in certain ways. And everybody does it differently, you know. I primarily do YouTube, but I've been drawing a little bit more. When I was a kid, I used to draw. Like I was known as the kid who used to draw. And I've been trying to draw a little bit more lately. When I was a kid, I used to make websites and stuff. And like when I was in college, I drew a web comic mostly for me and my friends. So I've always been like creating stuff. And when YouTube came out, I was like, hey, that's another opportunity to be creative. Or just to make stuff. There's a great quote. I think it's Maya Angelou who said it. It might be someone else. But I want to say it was Maya Angelou who said, if there's a story that you wish existed or you wish someone has told and no one has told it, then you must tell that story. You must make it. And that's kind of how I feel. Like if there's a thing that doesn't exist that I want to exist and I have the ability to make it exist or the ability to figure out how to make it exist, then I like have to. Like it's like a duty, I think. What kind of MC do you have going on in disco right now? Do you mean like what kind of character? I've been trying to play I've been trying to play like, you know, usually when I play a game the first time, I just try to play it very straight and narrow and very moral. And that's kind of what I've been doing, although the game does make it hard sometimes. So I'm trying to play like a sober cop that's trying to get his life together. That's like what I'm RPing. What will your next video be about? I'm not exactly sure what the the next one is, but I have many ideas. I generally don't like spoiling the next video, because I want it to be a surprise. Maybe I should tell people though. Maybe that would get people excited. But I honestly don't really know. I have a lot of ideas. Sometimes I'm working on multiple things at the same time, and I'm not sure which one's going to be put out next. But it's probably going to be about a TV show. I can tell you that. Random question: have you heard of aphantasia? Recently discovered this and mind blown. I have it and literally did not realize people can see images in their head. Yeah, I have heard about that. Yeah, there was kind of a big thing several years ago where people started coming out and saying basically what you just said, that they didn't realize that people can see images in their head. And on the other side, there were people like, what do you mean you don't have a mind's eye? You can't see images in your head. As a person who does see images in their head, I can't even conceive of what it's like to not be able to. I don't even know how you think without seeing stuff in your head. And what's interesting is, so there's aphantasia. There's people that don't have a mind's eye, that can't picture things in their mind. And then there's also people that don't have a voice in their head. So they don't hear, like when they think, they can't like think, I don't know how to describe it, but you know what I mean? Like some people don't have a voice in their head. Like I think most people can think and then like think of the sounds of hearing a voice in their head, that like, you know, I can think I went to the lake. Like I can hear that in my mind figuratively. And some people can't. So that must mean that there is some people who have neither, who don't have a mind's eye, and also don't have an inner monologue. That's the term I was thinking of. Some people don't have an inner monologue. And also some people have aphantasia, which means that there must be some people that have both of those things at the same time, which is crazy for me to think about. Your latest video got me hooked on KCFH, and I convinced my boyfriend it was a sitcom. Yeah, I mean, when I first heard about the show, I knew the premise because they kind of promoted it as that premise, but I can totally imagine me sitting down to watch the show, because I love sitcoms, and I think that they would get me. They would suck me in with that twist, if I didn't know that was happening. Didn't learn about aphantasia till the "Can you picture an apple in your head" discussion blew up around 2020. Yeah, there was like a big discussion on the internet about it. Any newer sitcoms that you like, or just lighter hearted shows? I don't watch a lot of newish sitcoms. I think probably the most new sitcom that I have seen and liked is Abbott Elementary. And I like it. I think Abbott Elementary. I haven't seen all of what they've come out with so far, but it does seem like it's gotten better as it goes on, which is usually what happens with sitcoms. They start off, they try to figure themselves out, and then if it's a good show, they find their groove, and then they do really well. And usually they hit their peak. Usually after like 5 or 6 seasons, it's like, okay, this is a good show. And then it might still be good, but there's like a peak. And I think 5 or 6 seasons is like, I feel like shows should not be, or at least comedy shows should not be longer than 5 or 6 seasons. They like always start to decline in quality after that. They can still be good, but at that point they're just there because people love it. But yeah, outside of that, I don't know if I'm even seeing anything new. If I'm watching a show, it's usually an old show that I'm watching as research for one of my videos. There is there's a show. I haven't seen a lot of it, but there's a show, A Man on the Inside, which I think is on Netflix. It's a Michael Schur show starring Ted Danson, but it's only on streaming, so not a lot of people have been talking about it, but it's actually really good. So that's another one that's pretty good. KCFH is a wild show. I loved it. It is definitely wild. As I say in my video, I did not expect how crazy the show gets. I thought it was just going to be kind of like a character study about, this tortured woman and, going back and forth, but it gets pretty silly, honestly. Like, and I think that's on purpose. It's like, even though there's like the sitcom world and the non-sitcom world, the non-sitcom world is just as filled with tropes and cliches and bizarre situations as the sitcom world. Are you not supposed to have images in your heads? It's not about supposed to. It's just that some people do and some people don't. My imagine. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I think most people do, and a small amount of people don't. Redemption, even for anime fans. If you don't have an image, you see a word. At least if you read it before. Yeah, I don't know. You have to ask some of the people that don't see it. I don't know. I guess they don't see anything. Redemption Cop. Yeah, I did something very similar in my first run as well. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm going for. Although I think it is disappointing to some of the people who have been watching me play, because it's probably less interesting than being super chaotic and and weird. But that game, gives you a lot of opportunities to be weird, even when you're trying not to be. So I think it's fine. I think AI is going to take all of our jobs. I just asked it to write X-Men fanfic and it came out awesome. Did it come out awesome? I think the thing about AI or large language models like ChatGPT is, if you are good at prompting, you can get it to spit out halfway decent things. But I don't think I've ever seen a piece of creative work made by AI that I didn't think a human could do way better, like at least like 10 times better. But again, it doesn't have to be better than humans. It just has to be good enough that people consume it. And like I said, we're already there in certain aspects. Like there are websites that all of the content on the website is made by AI, and some of these websites still get a lot of traffic. Oh, me and a friend diverged on an opinion on music, and I wanted to ask, most of the time at least, how much attention are you paying to music when you listen to it? How much attention am I paying to music when I listen to it? Well, the first time I hear a new song, I'm not, I'm just basically like getting the vibe of it. I'm not paying super close attention to the lyrics, unless the lyrics are like super catchy or memorable. And I think honestly, like, that's kind of the secret, or that's one of the skills of making like catchy pop music, is making music that instantly hits with people the first time they hear it. Um, but yeah, the first time I think I'm just trying to get the vibe, see if I like the sound. I think the second third, in subsequent times, then I'm listening a lot more closely and paying more close attention. And then after I've paid attention a bunch of times, then I just go back to just listening for the vibe. So it kind of depends on at what point in the journey of discovering the song I am. I understand the voice thing. Sometimes things don't feel real unless I talk it out, like sentences don't form. Is it like that for you? I definitely. Well, I mean, thinking things out and talking things out both work. I'm a type of guy that thinks a lot. In fact, probably thinks a little too much before I say stuff. That's one of the reasons why I like live streaming. Is it's kind of practice for talking. Because a lot of times when I'm talking, I have to think a lot about what I'm saying before, because I don't know if it's like I'm not confident that I'm gonna say something that sounds intelligent, or if I'm just bad at putting words together. Like I very often forget what word I'm looking for, and I think that's something that's gotten worse as I've gotten older. It's probably just because I don't read enough, but I often have to pause to be like, what's the word that goes here? And so in my head, I'm actually like thinking in my head, like the word, like re-saying the sentence in my head out loud to try to imagine what word goes there. But yeah. I'm so happy you put me on to the show. I love KCFH. What are you watching now? I'm watching a lot of things. I'm slowly making my way through a lot of things. I have a long list of old sitcoms that I want to watch that I'm trying to make my way through. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm gonna make a video about them, but I don't know. I just there's a lot of shows that I love growing up that I want to say that I have seen all of, that I haven't seen all of. So examples are Malcolm in the Middle and Everybody Hates Chris are two shows that I'm watching right now. And I've seen plenty of both of those shows growing up, but I've never seen every single episode of either of those shows. So I want to say that I've seen every single episode. So that's one thing I'm working. There's a pretty decent chance that a video about Malcolm in the Middle will be made at some point. I don't know if it's anytime soon, but and maybe Everybody Hates Chris. I have some ideas, but Malcolm in the Middle I think is a show that almost everybody loves. So I think that people will click on a video about that. Assuming it's an interesting topic. Abbott Elementary is great. Yeah, I agree, especially now. I think the first season I was like, okay, this is pretty cool, but now I think it's super good. Like, it's laugh out loud funny. I can have whole conversations in my head, but now I understand why I always found meditation and picturing waterfalls and stuff like that confusing. Interesting. I mean, meditation, I don't think meditation is about having images in your head, though. But yeah, I definitely, like, a lot of times if I know that I'm having a conversation, like if I'm doing an interview, or if I want to confront somebody or ask someone a difficult question, I almost always like play the conversation out in my head multiple times beforehand. I don't know if that's good or not, but I don't know. My Name is Earl felt really groundbreaking for its time. I agree. My Name is Earl, I think, is a really good show, and it is one of the biggest examples of of a show that got canceled that could have been like something special if they really got to finish it. Any thoughts on the new Malcolm in the Middle reboot? I mean, I'm interested to see it. I'm not gonna watch it. I'm gonna try to finish the original series before I watch the reboot. Like, I still haven't watched the King of the Hill reboot because I want to watch the whole series first. But man, that's a long ass show, so I may never get around to it. But yeah, I'm interested in seeing it. They got most of the original cast except Dewey, which is a little bit weird because I think that actor really is Dewey. But I don't know if he like retired from acting. I can't remember the story, but yeah. The reason I ask is because most of the time for me, I'm listening to it in the background while doing something else. Playing video games, studying, doing chores. I mean, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it depends on the situation when you're listening to music. I mean, some people just intentionally just listen to music like as the hobby, like that is the activity is listening to music. Um, if I'm putting on music in the background, it's usually music that I'm already familiar with, so I'm not paying that much attention to it. But every now and then I'll see a song that I want to check out or see an artist that I want to check out, and I'll just intentionally like listen to it without doing anything else. It just kind of depends on the context, I guess. And there's certain artists that I like. I'm not a big. I mean, I like music. I'm a human being, but like I don't really follow music that closely, and I don't seek out music really. But every now and then I'll see something I'm interested in, and there are certain artists that I like that if they come out with something, no, if they come out with something new, then I'll check it out. Like if Kendrick comes out with a new song, I'm gonna listen to it like every time. I loved your take on The Good Place. What drew you to defend a calmer, boring afterlife instead of the usual? Well, I don't know. This is it. I think, and then I don't know. This is getting into like philosophical, like religious stuff. But I have always thought that the concept of heaven is overrated, and I think that religious people vastly overestimate the appeal of heaven. Like it's appealing if you're 9 years old. And I guess, I mean, I shouldn't be like condescending because obviously heaven is important to a lot of people, but the concept of this like perfect place where there's no challenges and everything is done for you and everybody's rich and there you have no problems ever. Like to me, that's not that appealing. That sound and to be fair, the Good Place addressed that. In the Good Place, the people in heaven were basically all had their brains turned to mush. And that was cool that they addressed that because I'd been thinking that for a while that like the idea of heaven is not that appealing to me. But I didn't like the Good Place's solution for that. That's where we disagree, and that's where the origin of that video came out. I won't say that I didn't like their solution. Like I accept their solution. It worked in the narrative of the show, but it wasn't altogether like convincing to me from like a philosophical standpoint. The only time an AI song art is interesting right now is if it's an over the top parody usually. Yeah, AI music is really scary. I think as far as AI creating things, the music is where it's gotten the closest to equaling. Like I think AI can make perfectly passable stock music. I don't think AI is going to write, the next Beatles album or, the next Kendrick Lamar album. But if you need like just perfectly passable stock music, AI is actually really good at that. And that's a little bit scary. Like, I think AI is better at music than it is at text and at video. Can we talk about some of your older videos? You can talk about whatever you want. I've got to finish watching Malcolm in the Middle. I like I watched it a lot growing up, but I am not super. I can't remember all of the plot lines and stuff that happened. I seem to mostly remember the early seasons more than the later seasons. I think they just showed that on TV more when I was growing up. You made a very thoughtful video unpacking the complex subject of black culture. I appreciate how you distinguish between the lived culture and its simplified representations. I've shown the video to like 5 people now. Yeah, I appreciate that. That's one of those videos that when I made it, I don't think it really got that much of a response, and I don't think it got that many views, at least compared to some of my other videos. But it's also one of those videos that I occasionally get really positive comments about. Dewey is now a scholar studying Charles Dickens and Victorian literature, which is completely strange and awesome. Oh, is that right? I enjoyed your new video of Kevin's sitcom. I appreciate that. Yeah, the video, a lot of people seem to like it. There's a fascinating movie directed by Diane Keaton called Heaven, the Ultimate Coming Attraction, which is a series of interviews with random people about what they think heaven is, interspersed with old movie clips. Interesting. Yeah, I've never heard of that. That would be interesting to watch. Full House is the only show I've ever watched where multiple characters had catchphrases. DJ was the only one in the house who didn't have one. Did she not have one? I guess not, huh? I honestly miss some of those old sort of cheesy family sitcoms. I mean, a lot of it is just because that's what I grew up watching. But it was just fun. It was like fun. You knew that you weren't watching like some kind of creative masterpiece, but you were just watching something that gave you the warm fuzzies and the good feels, and it was cool. And you'd come back every week. It was a great time. You don't see a lot of that these days, just because we live in more cynical times, and that's just not the vibe of the country these days. But hopefully that'll change at some point. Yeah, that's what my friend does more often, is just listen to music, and I only do that every so often. If I really get into the music, a la Death Cab, Nas, Yves Tumor. Yeah, I don't consume music like that really, unless it's someone I'm really into, or if like I have a friend who is really good at finding music that I would like. And so every now and then he'll just like message me a song, and I'll be like, man, that's fire. It'll be some random band I've never heard of, but he just kind of knows the stuff that I like. So every now and then I find stuff like that. Getting cozy. Thank you for the $5. You rock. I appreciate that. The Good Place gave a satisfying story solution. It's fun fiction. Yeah, for the purposes of the story, it was fine. It made sense, but it just made me think about like, well, what if I could design my own heaven? Because they basically got to design their own heaven, which is an interesting thought experiment. Like, if you could design heaven any way you wanted, how would you design it? And I think for me, it would just be kind of like how I am now, except without all of the inequality and, you know, people fighting over resources and influence. What if you got AI to make you a load of footage of a non-existent sitcom, then you put out a retrospective on this fake sitcom on April 1st? I mean, that's kind of a funny idea. I definitely wouldn't do that though. I think it would be better to actually go get some actors and film a non-existent sitcom and then do a retrospective of it. Because like I said, just AI is just bad now. Like, they don't make good video. So it just wouldn't be that interesting. And no, I have not solved the problem of my camera continuously going out of focus. I'm pretty sure I just need either a new camera or a new lens. Maybe there's a setting that I could do, but I don't know. That's the thing. I make videos for a living, and I like 65% don't even know how cameras work. Like, I know what an f-stop is. I know how to make it record. I know what a frame rate is. That's about it. What do you think of Jose's sitcom videos? I think Jose is a genius. I love his videos actually. Actually, Jose's videos is a part of what made me comfortable with trying to do videos about sitcoms, because he kind of proved that it could work. And Jose and I have sort of collabed before, for those that don't know. I mean, collab, we basically just kind of like made videos about the same shows at the same time. We did it a couple times. We did it about we did with Boy Meets World, and we did it with Parks and Recreation. So yeah, I've worked with Jose. Me and Jose are cool. Did you ever watch that George Lopez sitcom? I can't remember what it was called. This sounds like an honest question, but it also sounds like it could be a joke, because the name of that show was George Lopez. And then there was also the more recent one called Lopez versus Lopez, I think. But the original was literally called George Lopez, which I always thought was kind of cool. Like, it wasn't called the show was not called The George Lopez Show. It was called George Lopez. Which I was like, honestly, that's kind of gangster. You just the show's just your name. Hit new series idea just now. My dogs, the Freemasons. Won't explain any further. Okay. Funniest thing about watching YouTubers and streamers is realizing that so many of them know as much about cameras as much as I do. That is to say, the bare bones basics. Yep. Yep. I mean, I probably should know more about cameras, and I've learned a lot over time. If you watch some of my older videos from many, many years ago, like some of them are just completely not in focus. Some of them, the composition is terrible. Some of them, the color is terrible. Like, that's the thing. All you have to do to make a YouTube video is just know how to record. And that's pretty easy to figure out. Like, and this is something that I've had to internalize, is that YouTubers are not filmmakers. At least most of us aren't. It's kind of the beauty of YouTube, though. It allows so many different types of people to make content and get an audience, If you're a poet, you can have a YouTube channel about poetry. All you have to do is know how to press record on the camera. You don't have to learn the camera. If you're an animator, you don't have to know how a camera works. If you're maybe you're an actor. You don't know anything about cameras, but you know how to act. All you have to do is know how to push record on the camera. That doesn't really work for other types of media. Like, if you want to make a TV show, you kind of have to know how to make a TV show. If you want to make a movie, you kind of have to know how a camera works. It's funny because my brother does photography as kind of a side hustle, and he knows way more about cameras than I do at this point. Even though I'm the one that does YouTube like full time. I think cameras might be easier to understand when they're analog. Maybe. I honestly couldn't tell you. I've never used an analog video camera, I don't think. I've used analog photography cameras. I took a photography class in college. It was pretty fun. We had to buy a film camera. I kind of wish I still had it because film cameras are like a bit rare these days. But I have no idea where it is. It probably doesn't exist anymore. Making my own heaven sounds exhausting. What would actually make an afterlife worth existing in rather than just safe and easy? Well, I guess that's the question. Like, so when you're talking about an afterlife, so the number one presumption is that there is an afterlife to begin with. So it's like, if you're going to live somewhere after death, you would hope, like, if you're going to live somewhere after death forever, you would hope that it was somewhere pleasant and comfortable and, like, a place you want to be. And then from there you have to think, well, what is that? What is a place I want to be? Do I want to be a place where I never have any problems ever again? Do I want to be a place where I can have infinite pleasure at all times? It's hard to say. And that is the philosophical debate that, a show like The Good Place tackled. Did you ever watch that sitcom where the horse adopted 3 orphans? No. I don't know what that is. You mean Mr. Ed? Did Mr. Ed adopt 3 orphans? I remember Mr. Ed. I think we're aging ourselves by mentioning Mr. Ed, though. Video and Kevin can F himself has hella rewatchability. Been enjoying it. Cool. I didn't know that people were rewatching the video, but maybe that's why it has so many views now. That's also my first hour-long video, which I don't want people to start expecting hour-long videos from me. But if hour-long videos are more likely to get 1 million views, I might have to start thinking about it, bro. Did I ever hear the story about how Bruce Willis chewed out Kevin Smith for not knowing how to use the camera? I have not heard that story. I can believe that. Kevin Smith always been kind of a gorilla. Like, Kevin Smith has the vibe of a guy who like made a wish to be a famous filmmaker and like a genie granted his wish. And so now he's just living the life of a famous filmmaker, even though he like barely knows how to do it. But I guarantee you that Kevin Smith knows more about how a camera works than I do. I used to be, I mean, I won't say you. I still like Kevin Smith, but I was a huge Kevin Smith fan growing up. Like, I guess college. Dogma is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I'm a huge fan of Jay and Silent Bob. As far as fictional characters go, I like Jay and Silent Bob a lot. Once he started doing like horror and stuff, I was less into it. But I have an admiration for Kevin Smith as this guy who kind of just got to live his dream, and he just seems like a normal, goofy guy. I don't know. I just appreciate that, I guess. Would you consider another political video considering the gestures broadly? Been watching for years, always appreciate your perspective. Unlikely for the very same reason of gestures broadly. Like, have you seen what political conversations look like nowadays? I have no desire to be a part of that. I mean, I don't necessarily mind talking about politics, but I don't really like I have no desire to be like specifically involved in the political community at large. You know, as just a human being in the world, I obviously have thoughts and opinions and stuff, but I don't really desire to be a part of the broader discourse. It's a shit show. It doesn't make me feel good. Um, but yeah. Did you ever watch Smart Guy? I did watch Smart Guy back in the day. I haven't seen it recently. I think Smart Guy's on my list actually of shows that I want to watch. If not, I should add it. At what battery percentage do you start recharging your phone? So I don't really think about it like that. I've got a relatively newish phone, so my battery life is really good for now. And so I don't even really think about charging my phone. I basically, like, every 2 or 3 days I just charge it during the day and then take it off and then don't think about it for another 3 days. So I don't even really think about the charge. I mean, if it happens to get like below 20, then I'll probably charge it, but I try not to charge my phone overnight because I think that's bad for the battery to overcharge it. I know like modern phones have like smart charging where it like stops charging when it's full, or like charges slower when it's full or something like that. But I still try not to do it. So what I do is I just charge it during the day, and then when it's full, I take it off the charger, and then that usually lasts me like 2 or 3 days, and I just do that again. Happy New Year, T1J. Last video is an absolute banger. I appreciate that. Happy New Year to you. I'm very happy that people enjoyed that video, because I actually was a little bit unsure if people were going to be into that video, because a lot of times when I do a video about a show that people are not familiar with, it doesn't do well. And I've even had people tell me I usually don't click on the videos unless I'm familiar with the show. So I was a little bit afraid that people wouldn't be interested in this. And I think, you know, part of what I had to do is figure out a way to make it seem interesting with the title and thumbnail and stuff. So I'm glad it worked out. It has become, I think it's going to eventually become my most viewed video. It's not quite my most viewed video yet. I think it's my 3rd or 4th most viewed video, but the way that it's going is, I think is unprecedented. Happy holidays, Big E. Stuck in Heaven sounds like it'd be a cool name of a book or an album. Stuck in Heaven. I'd be surprised if that hasn't been used before. That's a fictional sitcom of BoJack Horseman. I was wondering if it was a BoJack Horseman thing. I haven't seen a lot of BoJack Horseman. That's also on my list. I'd prefer an hour-long video every other month versus a 30-minute video every month. Well, the thing about it is I don't intentionally avoid making videos of a certain length. I just don't normally have an hour's worth of stuff to say about anything. And I just happened to for this video. Now, I will say that my videos have been getting longer over time. Like, you know, like 3 or 4 years ago, the average length of my video was like 13 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. But now I think the average is closer to around 30 minutes. But you know, that could continue to go up, and it's something to think about, where like when I edit my videos, I am very ruthless about cutting stuff, because I'm very sensitive to not wasting people's time and not being boring. That's like, you know, I don't know, if you want to be a YouTuber, that's something that you really have to think about, is not being boring, because as soon as the video gets boring, people will leave. And if a lot of people leave the video, then the video is not going to do well. So I'm like very, very conscious of that when I'm making videos. So I cut out a lot of stuff for my videos, but you know, going forward, I might think, well, you know, maybe I can leave this in. It's a little bit interesting, or maybe I can talk about more things, more characters, things like that. So I don't know, it's something to think about. But I don't think it's just the length of the video that made that video successful. Although it's not really about the length. It's just about, can you make a video that people will watch, and, you know, without stopping. And that video, and I honestly, I need to analyze that video, because I'm not totally sure why, but that video feels a lot shorter than it is. And I'm not sure why. Like, a lot of people say that, and I agree. Like, when I watch it myself, it doesn't feel like it's an hour long. Like, it flows very smoothly. So that's something I need to like analyze and figure out how to replicate. My favorite sitcom is Abbott Elementary. That's your favorite sitcom, like, of all time, or like your favorite current sitcom? I like Georgie and Mandy, but I wish we had more shows with that Martin or Living Single energy. Miss Pat is good, but I'm craving characters who feel like home. Oh yeah, I've seen clips of the Miss Pat show. I want to see that too. Have you seen the sitcom about teachers? I think you're gonna have to be more specific on that one. There's many sitcoms about teachers. I was gonna say I thought you said you take a step back from political videos and veer towards media vids. Yeah, I did say that, and that's what I'm doing. But you know, political and social issues are gonna permeate whatever I do, just because I'm a person in the world that has opinions. Um, Even in the Kevin can fuck himself video, I talk a lot about gender issues and, you know, domestic abuse and stuff, which could be considered vaguely political. In my alternate timelines video, I talked about Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Even though it was a joke, it still triggered people. People, I've got many comments are like, "Oh, I like this video," and then you got all political, or like a lot of people said, "Oh, the Donald Trump is actually the good ending," and it's like, okay, dude. So it's gonna be in there a little bit, no matter what. Like I think some people think that me stepping away from politics indicates that I'm trying to become apolitical, or that I'm like trying to hide my views and stuff, which is not really the case. I just don't want to be involved in the discourse because um people are absolute lunatics when it comes to political issues, and it just gets worse. It's gotten worse and worse. It has not gotten better in any way. Um yeah. The show Chuck was pretty good. I've never seen Chuck. My brother, one of my brothers really likes that show Chuck. I think he said it's his favorite show, which is interesting. How hard is it to edit clips of the show you're talking about? How hard is it? It's not hard. It's tedious, but it's not hard. Totally understandable. Really respected that you changed direction when that kind of content wasn't serving you. Yeah, I mean, if making videos isn't fun for me, then I can't do it. So, and I think the difference with, I've talked about this before, but there's a lot of political content creators where it's very clear that their content is it's praxis, as they say. They make content as political strategy. They make content to recruit people into their political movements. They make content as a form of activism. That none of that was me. I made content because I wanted to be a YouTuber and I wanted to be creative. That just happened to be the thing that was on my mind at the time. Um, so it's probably easier for me to walk away than some of these other people because it's more important to their identity and more important to their what they think is necessary to be doing in their lives. But for me, my identity is I just want to be a YouTuber and make content that people want to watch. Um, I wasn't trying to participate in political praxis or political organizing. If that happened, you know, as a result, as a side effect, then, you know, that's cool, but that's not what my goal was. And I think that's what other people are doing, but that's just not what I was doing. So if it's not fun for me, I just can't do it. I found out recently, or was reminded, that Smart Guy had a special episode about online child predators. I didn't know that was on anyone's radar in like 1998. Yeah, I remember that episode. I think it was on people's radars. You know, if you remember like the 80s, 90s, there were all kinds of TV specials about people abducting kids, and you know, like, you know, those true crime shows that would be on, you know, during the day, uh you know, like Dateline and 2020 and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that was on people's minds. Jillian Dar, thank you for becoming a member of the channel. Yeah, you can become a member, by the way. I don't really promote it that much, but it's just another way to support the channel. I appreciate that. But even before that, if you remember, there was an episode of Different Strokes that was about a child predator, and that was the '80s. So even before that, I wasn't familiar with KCFH, but I paused your video halfway through and found the show, binged it, and then came and finished your video. Yeah, that actually apparently a lot of people did that, which is fair. I think that if I think I would have did that if I wasn't familiar with the show and I found a video about it, I'd be like, no, I need to watch this. I've probably done that for other shows. I did. Well, actually, speaking of Afterlife, I remember I was watching it was like one of those celebrity roundtable videos where they just get a bunch of celebrities talking to each other. And one of the celebrities was Maya Rudolph, and she was talking about a show that she did called Forever with Fred Armisen, which is another show about people in the afterlife. And it sounded so interesting, and so I literally turned off the video and just watched the whole show. Unfortunately, I think it's only one season, and it got canceled before they could finish it. But it's actually a pretty cool show, and it's it gets kind of emotional, I guess, which I guess is kind of what's going to happen when you're talking about like relationships and death. And it's funny because it's technically a comedy, but it stars Fred Armisen and Maya Angelou, who are both like pretty goofy people, but they actually play their roles like pretty seriously for the most part, um, which I thought was cool. Another question I've had for friends and family regarding adjectives coming from people, a la Lynchian, Machiavellian. If something was T1Jian, what would that describe? I don't know. I don't think that I get to say that. I think that that's for the audience and the critics to come up with. I enjoy your videos when it's something I already know, but I really love being put on to things I need to know, like how I needed to know about KCFH. I didn't realize your video is an hour long. Yeah, I think it's all about just packaging it in a way that makes people interested. Which this is that is one of the biggest challenges of being a YouTuber is trying to make people interested in something they didn't know that they were interested in. Some people are masters of that. Like I think whenever I think about that, I think the master of that is H Bomber Guy. H Bomber Guy is the absolute goat of making you interested in something that you had no idea about 5 minutes ago. I wouldn't say that I'm great at that, but I'm getting better. But yeah, the success of this video has really opened my mind to other video ideas. Because a similar thing happened for those who have been around for a little while. A similar thing happened when I did my video about the Joe Smo show, which most people who watched that video had never seen the show before. But it was such an interesting story that is to date my most viewed video. But I think the KCFH video is going to catch up over time. Excuse me. I'm drinking the soda and it's giving me the burps. BoJack is good, but it's one of those shows where you occasionally find yourself thinking, "Why do I care about this insanely privileged asshole's problems?" Yeah, I need to watch more of that. But I kind of get the vibe of it. Um, the only thing about BoJack is everyone, whenever anyone talks about it, they're like, "It's a great show. It's an amazing show. It's funny, but it's also really sad." And I can appreciate something that is sad if it's good, but generally I don't like willingly watch things that bum me out. But, I will acknowledge something if it's good. Your alternate timeline video is great. It's that classic sitcom trope I can't get enough of. Same. That's why I made the video. I might make a sequel to that video because that's been done in like a lot of other shows. So I might do some more. But I think I picked the 3 best ones that I can think of. I can do research and see if I can find some other ones. I think the Community alternate timeline episode is like the gold standard of alternate timeline episodes. At least in that, like, there's a lot of videos. I mean, there's a lot of sitcom episodes that take place in a different timeline than the main timeline of the show. But I specifically picked those 3 because those are episodes that show both or, all of the timelines in the same episode, which I think is cool. Oh yeah, I don't think anyone can truly be apolitical. Trying to be apolitical is kind of politic in itself. Yeah, to some extent. I mean, I think there are genuinely some people who don't think about these things. I mean, to some extent, I think a lot of times people just are privileged enough where they don't have to think about it, but also just some people are they just don't have the bandwidth to really consider these things, and they don't really think about it too deeply. And no judgment on those people. That's just how it is sometimes. But it's hard to be completely apolitical. Like you have to have an opinion on something. Like if a law enforcement shoots somebody in the face, you have to have an opinion on that, one way or the other. Did you ever watch the show So Weird? It raised me. I loved it. Molly Phillips, daughter of mamas and papas, on an RV while the themes explore death and supernatural darkness. I don't think I've seen that. I've heard of that though. Yeah, I haven't seen it. Hey, do I have to donate or anything to get my question answered? No. I try to answer most questions. However, if you super chat, that will guarantee that I see your question and probably answer it. But I think I answer like 85% of the questions that are asked, maybe more. The only time I don't answer a question is if I don't see it, which sometimes the chat moves fast and I just miss it, or if it's just too cringe or too stupid, then I won't answer it. But I think if I say that, that might discourage people to ask silly questions. I don't mean silly, like silly is fine. But I don't know. Like if you ask like how big is your butthole or something, I probably won't answer it. In before a bunch of people type in how big is your butthole. But if you super chat, I will 100% answer your question. So if you care that much about having it answered, you can super chat. But I probably will answer it. I meant specifically online predators. I didn't know that was already a concern in 1998. Oh yeah, I guess it was an online predator, wasn't it? But you know, it's just the same thing. I mean, I guess so. But yeah, I mean, I think it was probably that smart guy episode was one of the only like major things talking about it. But even back then, in the early days of the internet, people there was all the talk about, you know, don't talk to strangers online. You're gonna get kidnapped, things like that. Like, people were definitely talking about that at that time. What's one show you'd like to see a 2026 revival of, either as a reboot or picking up where the last episode picked up? A 2026 revival? I don't know, man. The thing about revivals is they can be very hit or miss. I don't want to see a complete revival of a show. I don't think, generally, I'm never asking for a reboot of a show. I like, you know, reunion specials, or maybe like a revival movie, like a one-off movie. I don't generally want to just remake a whole show or bring back a whole show. Sometimes that works. Like I think the Roseanne reboot was good, Fuller House was good. So it can work. But, you know, like when they did the Friends reunion special, like that was really cool. When they did the Parks and Rec uh um quarantine special, I loved that because I love Parks and Rec. So Parks and Rec for me, if anytime you get the people from Parks and Rec together to do anything, I'm down. So if they did something with Parks and Recreation, I'd be happy for that. Even the Good Place, I would love to see a Good Place reunion of some kind. It's interesting, like you see those actors here and there, but it doesn't seem like they are friends. You don't see them together, really. But like the Parks and Rec people, you always see them together. Like Amy Poehler and Rashida Jones are clearly like good friends in real life. Um, you know, Amy Poehler and Aubrey Plaza are clearly friends in real life. So I don't know, certain casts are just closer than others, but you know, I would love to see like, I'd love to see that. Did you make your mac and cheese for the family over the holidays? I didn't actually. They didn't ask me to do that. Um, have I? I guess I've talked about my mac and cheese on stream before. I forgot. But no, they didn't ask me to this time. I did make banana pudding though, which the kids destroyed. But one of my other cousins made the mac and cheese this time, and it was fine. I don't know if it was better than mine, but it was good. Have you watched The Paper? It seems really hard to get sincere takes on it from non-legacy media critics, and I respect your analysis of media. I haven't watched it yet. I'd be interested to watch it though. I've heard it's pretty good though. Maya Rudolph, She Good and Rich. Maya Angelou and Fred Armisen. You mean Maya Rudolph and Fred Armisen? That would be a great show. Or do you literally mean Maya Angelou? Anyway, yeah, it's called Forever if you want to check it out. Last time I checked it was on Amazon Prime. I don't know if it's still there, you know. It probably is though, because I think it was created for Amazon Prime. And like I said, it doesn't have a conclusion because it got canceled, so it's gonna be pretty unsatisfying when you get to the end. But it's a pretty neat little show. I never heard of that show, but I really enjoyed Joe Schmo after watching your video. I recently rewatched your video you made about the reality show where everyone aside from one is an actor, where they discovered human empathy and ruins a Truman Show if you tried in real life. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what we're talking about, the Joe Schmo show. And they've redone that same concept a bunch of times. They even rebooted the Joe Schmo show itself. They also made Jury Duty, for those who've seen that. That's exactly the same concept. But the original is special because the original, I don't think they expected him to be as good of a guy as he is. Now they like intentionally find really wholesome, nice guys. Like pretty obviously they do. I don't think they were trying to do that on the first one. I think they were just trying to find like a very sort of milk toast bland white guy that they could just fuck with. And he just ended up being kind of a sweetheart. I mean, he was a little bit there. Like I've got a little bit of criticism because there are certain things that I didn't go into in the video. Like Matt, the guy who is the Joe Schmo, the Schmo on Joe Schmo. One of the things that he does on the show is he's like constantly like hitting on the women on the show, and he's like clearly a pretty horny guy, but it's not like malicious or predatory or anything like that. But I didn't put it in, I didn't talk about it in the video, but because it kind of didn't go along with what I was saying that well. But at the end of the day, he was a genuinely sweet and polite guy, and you can see in my video at the end they're all just praising him because he's such a great guy. And I don't think they were expecting that. But nowadays, I think they do it on purpose, which, if something works, people are going to try to replicate it. That's just how media works, I guess. Apparently, Shrinking with Jason Segel and Harrison Ford is really good. Yeah, I haven't seen that. Shrinking? Oh, yeah, I remember hearing about that. Yeah. No, I haven't seen that. Man, there's so many shows. How do people watch all these shows? There's like way too many shows. Disney will never do a show like So Weird again. Why do you say that? So Weird was on Disney Channel, and Erie, Indiana was on Fox Kids. Yeah, I wasn't a Disney Channel kid. I was a Nickelodeon kid. Most of the Disney Channel stuff I haven't seen a lot of. I think the only Disney Channel show that I recall watching is That's So Raven. But I don't think I really watched Disney Channel that much. Who's your sports teams you root for? Well, the only sport that I actually really follow is college football, and I root for the Alabama Crimson Tide, who recently just got embarrassed by Indiana in the college football playoff. But we did make it to the second round of the playoff, so that's good. That you can't argue with that. I watch a little bit of NBA, and my NBA team is the LA Lakers. I've been a Lakers fan since Shaq was on the Lakers, because Shaq is my favorite NBA player of all time, and so just him being on the Lakers just made me a Lakers fan. And having Kobe on the team was not bad either. And now we have LeBron, which is not bad either, and Luka, which is not bad either. I don't watch NFL at all, really, but back when I did watch NFL, my team was the Green Bay Packers. Similarly, because there's a player that I liked. I was a big Brett Favre fan back in the day. And also, me and my friends used to play Madden. And I always played the Packers. And, later the Packers got Aaron Rodgers, who's also like one of the best quarterbacks of all time. I think both Green Bay Packer. I think both Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers are both kind of weird guys in real life, but separate the art from the artist. I like to hear people's thoughts on tabooish topics like Satanism and the occult. I mean, if you be more specific, I'd be happy to try to answer if I have an answer. I'm not super like well versed in that stuff. I've had some friends that identify as Satanists. The concept, like growing up as an edgy atheist, the idea of Satanism was interesting to me, although it never really vibed with me because it seems to be all about self-interest. At least if I understand the text that I've read recently, or not recently, but the text that I have read over the years. I'm out of focus again. Focus on my hand, please. But yeah. As for the occult, I don't like the occult. As far as I understand the occult, that's, interest in like the supernatural and demons and witches and spiritual rituals and stuff like that. And I don't tend to believe that any of that's real, so I don't have a strong opinion about the occult. You have nostalgia for any of the old Disney Channel original movies? Did you think you ever do a video on any of them? I don't. No, I don't have nostalgia because, like I was saying before, I didn't watch Disney Channel much. I don't think I've seen any Disney Channel original. Well, I don't know. Disney Channel original movies. I don't think I've seen any of them. I've seen the Lizzie McGuire movie. That's the only one I can think of. Let's look at Disney Channel original movies. See if I've seen any of them. Why do I keep going out of focus? I don't understand. What am I doing? All right, let's go to the 90s. Let's see. Under Wraps, You Lucky Dog, Brink, Halloween Town, Xenon Girl of the 21st Century, Can of Worms, The 13th Year, Smart House, Johnny Tsunami, Genius, Don't Look Under the Bed, Horse Sets, Up, Up and Away, The Color of Friendship, Alley Cat Strike, Rip Girls, Miracle in Lane 2, Stepsister from Planet Weird. Have not seen any of these. Jet Jackson the movie. Get a Clue. I'm going down the list. The Cheetah Girls. I've heard of the Cheetah Girls. I've never seen the movie though. The Even Stevens movie. I've seen Even Stevens the show, but I didn't see the movie. And yeah, after like 2006, this is when I was in college and I definitely wasn't watching, or after 2003, 2004, that's when I went to college and I definitely wasn't watching Disney Channel in college. So yeah, I haven't seen any of them. Is the Lizzie McGuire movie even a Disney Channel original movie? Phil, it's not on the list. Lizzie McGuire movie is based on a Disney Channel show, but was released theatrically, so it wasn't a Disney Channel original movie. But that's the only like Disney Channel related thing that I've seen, and I only watched that because I used to and kind of still do have a big crush on Hilary Duff. That's literally the only reason I watched that movie. And also because I relate to the character Gordo in the Lizzie McGuire movie. I think he's the GOAT, and I just wanted him to get the girl, and he gets the kiss at the end, and that's what's up. Uh, have you heard of the pop punk band The Paradox? They got a lot of early attention because people were joking about them being an all black pop punk band. I've not heard of them, but people were joking about it. Why is that a joke? Oh, people calling them Black 182. Black 182 is kind of funny though. Smashing watermelons. I don't know about that one. Breaking into Benjamin's house. Um, they leaned into the memes and it helped them blow up. Interesting. Okay, Black 182 I think is funny, but the other ones are just kind of racist. Not even saying that's bad. It just made me think about how often black artists in mostly white scenes have to play along with jokes to be accepted. I mean, that's one strategy, I think. I don't think you have to, but yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I don't. I think when you're in a space like that, you have to decide what you're gonna do. Like, do you just grin and bear it, or do you demand respect, knowing that demanding respect could limit your opportunities? It's a constant weighing of priorities. Looking at comedy shows slash sitcoms, what show do you consider to have the most consistently funny writing? I think there's a lot of shows that are consistently funny. Seinfeld is funny all the way through. Parks and Recreation is funny all the way through. The Cosby Show. Um, I think Friends is funny all the way through. I know a lot of people don't like Friends, but I think Friends is funny from beginning to end. Um, yeah, I think there's a lot of shows that are consistently funny. The Office is consistently funny for the most part. I think the later seasons are slightly less funny, but they're still funny. The Jeffersons, I think, is funny the whole way through. 30 Rock is funny. Yeah, there's a bunch of them. Uh, about alternate timelines, The Office, How I Met Your Mother, 30 Rock, and The Good Place all play with what ifs in brilliant ways. For sure, yeah. I agree with all of those. I haven't seen all of How I Met Your Mother, so I don't know about how they did it, but I agree with the others. If your favorite sitcom characters had a dance off to claim the last bite of mac and cheese, who takes it? You got to go with Elaine from Seinfeld. Well, for Seinfeld, right? Perhaps the most iconic dancer in sitcom history. What fighting games you're playing right now? I'm not currently playing a fighting game. I played a little bit of the beta of Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls. Interesting game. I'm not super into tag games that much, really. but it was fun. I played. I was playing a lot of 2XKO, but I haven't played it in a few months. But I was rocking people online with my Echo and 2XKO. I'm probably just gonna end up going back to Street Fighter 6. I just love Street Fighter. I don't know what it is. I just love that just pure one-on-one footsies type of style of game. Like, I don't need all these like air dashes and fucking tag team 50-50s and stuff. Like, I don't know. That gets, maybe it's just me being old, but it's just like there's too much going on the screen right now. Let me just fight. Let me just fight a guy. Like, let me just play Tekken or Street Fighter and I'm good. Apple TV has some really great shows right now. Yeah, I have been debating on getting Apple TV because I've never had Apple TV because it's like, man, do I really got to sign up for another streaming service? But there's so many shows on Apple TV that I would want to watch. I watched the like first 2 episodes of Severance like at a friend's house, and I'm like, I think this is like the greatest show I've ever seen. And I have yet to finish it, and I really want to finish it. I've only seen a couple episodes of Ted Lasso. I really want to watch that. Pluribus looks amazing. I haven't seen that, but it looks really cool. I want to watch that. So I'm probably going to end up getting Apple TV. Um, I also played Smash Brothers Melee recently, so that counts too. I used to play. I mean, I've talked about this on stream before, but I used to be like a competitive Smash Brothers player. Um, but it's been a while since I've done that. Which sitcom character would survive a zombie apocalypse the longest? Um, well, I don't know. There's a lot of sitcom characters that are also sort of like action shows, right? So like I don't know, like maybe like Rosa Diaz from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I think she'd probably do pretty well. You haven't seen Holes, the classic family-friendly Disney original movie about child slaves being used to dig for treasure in the Arizona desert? I've heard of Holes. I've never seen it though. The Color of Friendship is the only Disney Channel original movie everyone needs to see. I'll take your word for it. Those Disney movies would all be great to see you break down. Hey, maybe that's a video idea. I watched every Disney Channel original movie. Someone's probably already done that though. Black man watches Disney original movie for first time. I'm gonna just say it. Your camera's racist, bro. It can't focus on your face, but the inside of your hand is crystal clear. Yeah, for some reason it can focus on my hand, but not my face. I don't know why. And the thing is, there's a setting on the camera where you can set it to detect faces, and it knows that my face, like, I'm looking at the screen on the camera, like I have it. It's a flip out screen, and there's a little square around my face, which means it knows that my face is there, but for some reason it just won't focus on it. Maybe it just thinks that I'm in focus when I'm not. And honestly, I mean, you're kind of joking or tongue in cheek, but the idea of cameras behaving differently for people of color is absolutely a thing. That's something I had to learn in my early days of YouTube is when you're looking for like advice about how to light and how to color grade and things like that, you should find someone who knows how to do it for black subjects. Or at least I should. Maybe you shouldn't, but I should. Would you rather marathon The Office, Parks and Rec, or Arrested Development? Definitely Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec is, I think so. I would say my top two favorite sitcoms and probably top two favorite television shows of all time are The Cosby Show and Parks and Recreation. I think it is a near perfect show. So definitely Parks and Rec. I Arrested Development is a show that I've only seen a handful of episodes of. That's another show that I would like to complete. I've definitely seen The Office, and The Office is a very bingeable show. But The Office, like, I don't feel myself excited to watch the later seasons of The Office. Like, I think there's some good episodes, and I think it's fine. It's not bad, but I'm never excited to watch it. I'm excited to watch like the first 5 or 6 seasons of The Office, but after that, I'm like, I could take it or leave it. But Parks and Rec, I can put it on any episode, any season, and I'm in. Such a great show. Guys, he's not FD. Did someone call me FD? I mean, that at this point, there's been so many memes about me and FD signifier looking the same that I can't tell when people are being serious or not when they confuse me for him. And I bet it doesn't happen that much the other way around because he's the bigger YouTuber. I bet he doesn't get confused for me as much as I get confused for him. My money would be on Carlton from Fresh Prince winning any competition involving dancing. You see Alfonso Ribeiro on Dancing with the Stars, man's a legend. Yeah, for sure. Like in a serious, legitimate dance competition, I think that's a very good choice. I was kind of being a little cheeky with my answer, but yeah. Oh, no, you play Street Fighter? Who's your main? Kimberly. I love the sort of set play quasi rushdown type characters. I always look for that style of character in every fighting game I play. Who did you Lil on Smash? The Smash scene, please stay away from it. Well, I'm not really in the scene. I still watch like tournaments and stuff on YouTube, but I'm definitely not in the scene anymore. I mean, the main reason that I stopped going to Smash tournaments is because I became the oldest guy there by far. I think it nowadays, if you go to like Melee tournaments, you might find some older people, but if you go to like Smash Ultimate tournaments, it's a bunch of kids. And you know, there's a lot of other memes about the Smash community that have some truth to them, like how none of them shower. They've literally had to like start, you know, disqualifying people from tournaments because they smell too bad. And also the Smash community, like many other communities, had a reckoning not too long ago for just everybody being a sex pest or some kind of abuser and things like that. It was pretty crazy. If you know, you know. Holes is not a Disney Channel original movie because it was released in theaters. Yeah, apparently that's true of the Lizzie McGuire movie as well. Not here for long. Just wanted to say I found the channel recently and have really been enjoying the breakdown videos of sitcoms you've done. Thank you. I appreciate that. We learn about racism in camera tech and film history. Yeah. Well, that's good that they're teaching. Parks and Rec is a perfect show after season one. I'll give you that. I've come to appreciate season one, but it's definitely gets way better in season two. I actually did a whole video about season one of Parks and Recreation. If anyone hasn't seen that one, but it definitely gets better starting in season two, and particularly once Adam Scott and Rob Lowe join the cast, it's like, okay, this is the show. But I have come to appreciate season one a lot. I think it really sets up, like, if you think of season one as a prologue to the main show, I think you can appreciate it more because it sets up how Leslie became Leslie. And I did a video about that. If you're interested, check it out on my channel. Ron Swanson gets me every time. Yes, one of the great characters in sitcom history. This question may be a self-report, but I'm finally in my late 20s starting to build more platonic friendships across genders lately. Do you think that gets easier with age, or is it more about mindset? Well, I don't think making friends gets easier with age. It unfortunately gets harder because the older you get, the less opportunities you have to be social, I think. People, and then, just people get busier. People start families, people have kids, people start their careers and stuff. So it's hard to meet people and make friends. So making friends, I would not say gets easier. It's definitely still possible. And I think it is about your mindset. I say this is like personal to me because I'm lucky that I have like a solid friend group, and I hang out with my friends pretty frequently. Like we watch sports together, we play D&D together, and stuff like that, go to the movies and stuff. But outside of them, it's kind of hard to meet new people. And I'm a single guy, I have no kids, and all of my friends I think are not single right now. One of them is married, and a couple of the other ones are in like long-term relationships, and so they're like constantly occupied. You can't just be like, hey, yo, let's hang. I can't call my buddy who's married and be like, hey, you want to like go do something? It's like, no, I'm hanging out with my actual wife. So it gets a little bit harder to like find opportunities to be social and hang out with people. But like you were saying, it is about your mindset. It's about putting yourself out there. You gotta leave your house. You gotta do stuff. And find people with similar interests. And I don't think the gender thing matters. I don't know. People talk about like having friends with people of the opposite gender, like it's like hard, and I never really got that. I think I have a lot of friends of both genders, and I never had a problem with that. I think it's different. Obviously, like, I guess I shouldn't say both genders because that kind of misrepresents gender, but I have friends who are men and I have friends who are not men, and I think it's different. Like different genders are sort of socialized to behave differently and act differently in certain ways a lot of the time, but it's not, I don't know, I've never thought it was that hard to make friends with women or anything else. I think the only, like, especially with men trying to have relationships with women, I think the problem is that men are not looking for female friends. Like if you're open to the idea of having female friends, and it's not that difficult, but I think there's a lot of men just don't want female friends. They only want romantic relationships with women. Kim is a mix-up demon. I agree. That's why I like it. I love the, not necessarily, I mean, I like the mix-ups for sure, but I just like rushing people down and throwing down the bombs and just making people uncomfortable in the corner. That's the kind of characters that I like. I like fast characters. I need a character with a good walk speed. I can't deal with slow characters in fighting games. You should make a video on Atlanta, the show. Atlanta's on my list too. That's a show that I need to finish also. Like that's one that I would you shouldn't be surprised if I do make a video about that. I think that there's a likelihood of that. What kind of music do you like? I am open to any kind of music. I think historically the type of music that I've enjoyed the most are early 2000s hip hop and hip hop that reminds me of early 2000s hip hop. A lot of classic rock and like indie pop, like female led indie pop, like that kind of stuff. But I'm open to any kind of music. I think I have heard a song in any genre, in every genre that I'm aware of that I liked. I've heard at least one song in every genre that I like. It's hard to describe. I think I have a very eclectic music taste, but there is like a common trend among all of the stuff that I like, and I can't really pinpoint it. It's something, the best that I could describe is that it's like I like stuff that is a little bit weird but still mostly accessible. I think Kendrick Lamar is a great example of that. Like Kendrick Lamar is a little bit weird but still mostly accessible. Or like I really like Billie Eilish, for example, and I think that applies to her too. I think she's a little bit weird but still mostly accessible. And I think that's at least the best way I've come to describe the type of music that I like. Before Black Mirror, Charlie Brooker once did a fake reality show thing where he played a judge. The point was to highlight how those shows manipulate you. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know that show, I don't think. He said having to be shitty to people for that genuinely made him feel awful, even though it was to make a point. The Joe Schmo show really reminded me of that, like the actors getting uncomfortable. Yeah, the Joe Schmo show was interesting because the actors on that show, I think at least the vibe that I get is those were actors who just took the job because they just needed a job. I don't think that they cared that much about the point of the show, if there was a point. It just seemed like a bunch of young actors that were looking for work and they just got cast on this weird show. But, as the show went on, they started to be like, is this thing we're doing bad? As a married guy with 4 kids, I can tell you the onus is on us to reach out to our single friends. I make it a point to invite as much as possible all my dude friends to dinner and movie here. I know a lot of guys who are married and complain about making friends, and I'm like, dude, your schedule is the rough one. You have to reach out. I mean, I respect that. I probably can't speak for that since I'm not the married guy with kids. So I will take your thoughts on that. But as from my perspective, I can't wait for that to happen. And listen, my friends, like I said, I hang out with my friends pretty frequently, so that's okay. But it's not like how it used to be where I could just call up my buddy on a Tuesday and be like, let's hang out. It's just more regimented now, and that's fine. And I think it's good to have a thing that you do. Like, so for example, like college football season just ended, but me and my friends, we watched all of the Alabama games. And that's just a thing that we know is going to happen. So we plan for it, we expect it to happen. Also, we play D&D almost every Sunday. And so we just know that that's going to happen. We have an excuse to hang out. We don't have to like fabricate some excuse. We just know. So it's good to like have a thing that you know that you can do, or to like set up an activity. Like some couples do a game night where they invite their friends over and stuff, and that's cool. You know, stuff like that. I think that's the kind of stuff you have to do when you get older. Move Atlanta up the list, please. You never know. I mean, the list doesn't really have an order. It's just a combination of what am I really enthusiastic about and what do I think people will want to watch. And so I'm constantly weighing that. I'm a Marissa and Aki main in case you ever run an Opa lobby. Fair enough. I haven't played in a while, but I have been saying I'm gonna get back on it because I've been trying a lot of these new games that have been coming out, and it just makes me just want to play Street Fighter again. How do you feel about They Might Be Giants? I love They Might Be Giants. Um, I suppose that they could be described as weird but accessible. I feel like they are more on the weirder side than on the accessible side, but I think that is a good example. I think "Birdhouse in Your Soul" by They Might Be Giants is like one of the best songs ever made. Have they buffed Marissa? I feel like she was bad when the game came out, or at least yeah, like in the early days of the game. And Aki too. Wasn't Aki bad too? I can't remember. No, I think Aki was pretty good. Have I covered Home Improvement? I have not. I think that's a I mean, that's definitely a show that I would like to go back and watch too. I'm not sure what I would say about it though. It's one of the like sometimes I'll watch a show not having any idea of what the video would be about, but by the time I finish the show, I have all these like ideas and questions. And that's usually what happens when I rewatch a show. But like in this moment, I'm not sure what I would even say about Home Improvement. But like for example, when I watched Daria, I had no idea what I was going to say about Daria. I just was interested in watching it because some people had mentioned it as a show that I should watch, and another and B, I just wanted to watch it because it was a show that I remembered from growing up, and I ended up absolutely loving Daria. I think it's just a great. I think it's like one of my favorite shows now, and I had so many ideas and things to say by the time I was finished. So I don't know if that will happen. That doesn't happen with every show, but um, could happen. Do you have a favorite citrus? Like citrus fruit? I like lemons. I mean, I don't just like eating lemons, but lemons are so useful. Like lemon juice is good on almost everything. You got the lemon zest, which is good on almost everything. And then you can make lemonade, and if you make lemonade with fresh lemons, the junk is fire. I know you don't do a lot of sci-fi horror, but I bet you would have some good takes on 90s Outer Limits. I think with the success of the Kevin fuck himself video that opens up other genres. And there are some sci-fi things that I've been wanting to talk about, particularly Star Trek: The Next Generation and also The X-Files. So that's definitely a possibility. Home Improvement would be tough to revisit due to the track of Tim Allen, I think. It would be hard to separate his ethos. I mean, what is the track of Tim Allen? I know he's like supposed to be conservative, right? But has he ever done anything terrible? I generally don't really care about that. When I make videos, I very rarely talk about the actual actors who play the characters unless that's important to the thesis of what I'm saying. But yeah, I guess it just depends. You know, like I did a video about basically just talking about how much I love Roseanne, and you know, Roseanne Barr is not unproblematic. So, you know, it's just about, I don't know. I've talked about this many times, but I am a 100% firm believer in separating art from artists. I don't think you get to enjoy anything if you don't do that. But I hear a lot of people talk shit about Tim Allen, and I'm like, did he ever even do anything to anyone? Ron Swanson's a great sitcom character. Also, Abed agreed. Dwight agreed. Steve Urkel agreed. Max, Two Broke Girls. I don't know about that one. Rochelle, Everybody Hates Chris. That's a great pull, and I agree. And Claire Huxtable, I agree with that too. I think I don't know. There's something about Two Broke Girls that I just don't like. When I watch that show, I just don't think it's funny, like, at all. I don't know. It is so cringe to me. I can't really explain why. Sarah Spencer, thank you for the $6.99 Canadian. Do you have opinions on Frasier? Love your videos. Thank you. Yes, Frasier is amazing. I love Frasier. I think Frasier is one of the best shows ever made. A little too long. There's way too many episodes, but it's a great show. Back to the stream. Just wanted a bunch of legendary locations on Discovery with my daughter. She talked through the whole thing. I prefer solitary TV watching. Well, yeah. I mean, you got to do it though, I guess, right? I put lemon juice in my instant ramen. That sounds delicious. Who belongs on the all-time greatest sitcom character list? I think you had some good answers there. I think Jack Donaghy from 30 Rock is up there. We've said Ron Swanson already. I'm trying not to just say like the main character of all my favorite shows, and just trying to see. I'm trying to think of shows I like, and then who's the best character on that show. I think Eleanor from The Good Place is a good character. Rosa Diaz. I don't know though. We're talking like all time. That's like really like George Jefferson. Like there's so many, like Archie Bunker. Like there's so many iconic characters. Kramer. George, even George from Seinfeld. Chandler from Friends. I don't know if I mean if you guys, I mean those of you who are like elder millennials, you probably remember this, but in the 90s, if you meet like a white dude, there's a good chance that he just was Chandler. Like everybody, almost every white dude that I knew just wanted to be Chandler. Like they just were they had that same sarcastic sense of humor. Like he like defined a generation of white dudes. Have you watched The Venture Bros? Yeah, good show. I haven't seen like a whole bunch of it. I didn't like watch it as a matter of habit, but yeah, I've caught it a bunch of times, and I think it's I've always liked it. You never mad when The Venture Bros is on. I'm not a Trekkie, but I really like Voyager as a kid. I wouldn't say that I'm a Trekkie either, but I grew up watching Star Trek: The Next Generation, and I think that's just one of the greatest shows ever. And later in life, I watched Star Trek: The Original Series, which I also loved. But that's the extent of my Star Trek knowledge. I would like to watch some of the other stuff. Like a lot of people tell me Deep Space Nine is just as good, so I would like to watch that. Sam from Cheers is another great answer. Even like Lucy from I Love Lucy, like you gotta have the legends on there, right? Yes, Bill Cosby's actions do not take away from the show. I hate when people try to cancel shows because the actions of the actors. Yeah, it's easier for me to separate when you're talking about a show because so many people come together to make a show. The Cosby Show is more than just Bill Cosby. Yeah, it has his name on it, but hundreds of people worked to make that show. And actually, and especially the more that you learn about how these things get made, like so many people come together to make a show or a movie work. There's the actors obviously, and there's the directors and the producers and the writers and stuff, but there's also like the costume designers, there's the set designers, there's the prop people, there's the stand-ins, there's the if it's a show with kids, there's like set teachers, there's the parents of the kids. You know, if it's like there's so many people. There's the people who operate the cameras. It's just you can't like pin it all on one person. A while back, streamer Pokemon made a comment saying, "Stop sexualizing people without consent." Why do you think some people took that statement as what? No more celebrity crushes? Is there a balance? Um, yeah. Well, see, I think there is a spirit. I don't know, man. I Pokemon is. I feel like people are always trashing Pokemon. Like, I don't think she can say anything without. Like, she has a lot of haters for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why. Probably just because she's a successful woman and that's threatening to people. But I think there is a spirit to what she's saying that's obvious. Like, I think we all understand what she's trying to say. And I think people who say stuff like that are sort of being, intentionally, they're like intentionally misrepresenting what she's saying. And when people do that, we don't necessarily, I don't think we should necessarily like entertain those opinions as if they're like valid criticisms because they're just people just being haters. But the idea of stop sexualizing people, I think is, literally is not a thing that people that you can do. Like if you see a person that you are sexually attracted to, you can't force yourself to not be sexually attracted to that person. I don't think that's how it works. And I also don't think it's fine to be like, if I say, like, I think Kerry Washington is so fine. Like, I think this is one of the finest women that has ever graced this earth. And I think it's okay for me to say that. I even Pokimane herself, I think that's a beautiful woman, and I think that's fine to say. But there's a way to do it, There's you don't I don't even know how to say what I'm trying to say. I think you understand though. I think we all kind of understand what she's trying to say. Like, don't go to Pokemon's pictures or Kerry Washington or anyone's pictures and leave creepy comments. Don't DM them weird shit, Don't stalk them in public, Don't make fucking deep fake porn of them. I think I think we get the spirit of what she's saying. I mean, and maybe she would be uncomfortable with me saying what I said, but I think it's a little bit unreasonable to be like, don't be sexually attracted to people, which it's not exactly what she's saying, but that's kind of the I think that's the logical progression of what she's saying is um if you are publicly talking about how sexy people are, then it's like, well, where is the line? Am I should I just never make a comment about being attracted to someone? And I think that's a way that you can interpret that. But I think what she's saying is like, just don't be weird, don't be creepy, don't be weirdly parasocial, don't make people uncomfortable. But and people might disagree. Me and her might have different views on certain things, but I think that's the spirit of what she was saying. I don't think she's saying you're not allowed to have celebrity crushes. But I think that the way she said it might be a little weird, because it's like, you're going to be, I don't think you can make yourself not attracted to people. And I don't think that if you're attracted to someone, you're not allowed to say it out loud. You just have to do it respectfully, and probably not to them. I still get mistaken for Chandler. What's up, Cliff? Happy New Year. Iconic characters reminds me of how I love the pigeon lady from Home Alone. Every year I say I'm going to be here for Halloween. One year I'll do it. That's a good classic Halloween costume. Yeah, the pigeon lady's cool. I think behavior on set is more important than history in totality. I mean, I think it all comes together. It's all related, I guess. But the out like for example, there are so many great movies that would not have gotten made if it weren't for Harvey Weinstein. So it's like, does that mean I'm not allowed to enjoy these movies? We were talking about Kevin Smith earlier. I think all of his movies were produced by Miramax, which was Harvey Weinstein's company. Am I not allowed to enjoy Kevin Smith movies? You like you life is just complicated that way, and you have to compartmentalize things if you want to enjoy media and art. As a huge Trekkie, DS9 is the best series of Trek in my opinion. I highly recommend to watch. Yeah, I definitely gotta watch it. Favorite Star Trek TNG character? 100% Data. It's not even close. Did you see? Are you interested in Pluribus? I haven't seen it, but I am interested in it. I would love to watch it. I was talking earlier. I guess you weren't here. I was talking earlier about how I've been putting off getting Apple TV because I just don't want to sign up for another streaming service, but there's so many things on there that I want to watch, including Pluribus. Pokemon was responding to AI porn of other streamers being leaked, so it's obvious people asked that we're not being in good faith. Yeah, and that's just how it goes. I mean, I didn't know the context, but I know how people react to Pokemon because she's been involved in several controversies. And as far as I can tell, like I'm sure she hasn't done everything perfectly in her life and career, but as far as I can tell, she seems like a perfectly kind and decent person. Yet she is constantly the target of like abuse and hatred and people just being mean to her. So I could guess that it was probably a bad faith interpretation of what she was saying. I torrent everything. Don't tell my government. I mean, do what you got to do, man. I think when you get to a point like me where I now make content for a living, I mean, to be honest, at the end of the day, most of my content is free, but I can imagine if I worked hard on something and I put it out there, I'd probably feel a little bit some type of way if a bunch of people just like pirated it and like didn't, contribute to the compensation of myself and anyone else who worked on it. I think I'd probably be a little salty about that. At the end of the day, I don't think I would care that much, but I probably have a feeling about it. So this is not me telling anyone else what to do, but I think for myself, I just don't really feel right torrenting anymore. I used to be a very heavy torrenter. And in some cases I can see it being justified. Like, I don't know, man. Like if you torrent Photoshop, I'm not even mad at you because fuck Adobe. Their business practices are absolute cringe. And they need to be taken down a peg. So in some cases, I don't even mind. But overall, I try to give back if something is bringing me value. That's kind of the way I see about it. Thoughts on Avatar: The Last Airbender? So Avatar: The Last Airbender is one of those pop culture things that I completely missed. I don't know anything about Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's also on my list, by the way. I mean, I know a little bit about it. I know that there's a character called Aang, and I know that there's bending elements and stuff. But outside of that, I don't know anything about it. And I'd like to know something about it because people make it seem like it's good. These media companies are too big nowadays, and their practices are near, if not exploitative. So being a pirate almost seems the correct thing to do nowadays. I mean, I think in some cases you can make an argument because there is a lot of exploitation going on. But you have to think about there's media companies, and yeah, they make a lot of money, but they also they employ a lot of people. They give up and coming stars their big breaks. They help people, they change people's lives. They help people start families. And not to mention these media companies themselves you know, what a company is made up of human beings. Like there's human beings. Maybe there's some, you know, completely amoral, soulless CEO or group of executives sitting in a boardroom making decisions about stuff. Possibly. But, you know, there's also, you know, the people that run the mail. There's people that clean the building that they work in. There's, you know, there's people that, uh, you know, make the food in the cafeteria. There's people, there's the accountants who run the numbers. You know, a company is just a bunch of people, and all those people got to eat too. And, you know, I guess you could tell them go work somewhere else, but I think anyone who has a job knows that it's not always that simple. So things are always more complex than we want to think about it. That's the problem with being a person in the world, is we want to simplify everything and separate everything into like, this is good and this is bad, but it's just almost nothing works like that. But at the end of the day, if you pirate, you know, if you pirate something from Apple, they're probably going to be okay. Sorry if this is a common question, but how do you choose what video to make? Um I mean, the main things is just A, am I excited about it? Is it something that I'm enthusiastic about making? And B, is it something that I think that people will watch and people will care about? That's basically the main things. There are other considerations like how long is this video going to take me to make? Um, or like, you know, how much research does this require? Do I need extra do I need to buy something for this, or do I need to do extra research? Do I need to call someone? And you know, sometimes I just need to put a video out. Like I do YouTube for a living, and unfortunately, sometimes I just gotta make a video because that's how I make money. And obviously, at this point, I don't try to. I will never put out a video that is bad on purpose, but sometimes I got to be like, okay, this video is gonna take less time to make, so I'm gonna do this one now instead of this other one that's gonna require like 3 months of research. So that's a consideration, but ultimately it's just, am I excited about it and do I think people will like it? And sometimes there are things that I'm excited about that I don't think people will care about, and sometimes I think that there are things that people would care about that I don't want to make. So I saw the thumbnail of your video for Kevin Can F Himself, and I've watched the show because it intrigued me. Well done. Thank you. Yeah, I had a sometimes you make a thumbnail, a title thumbnail combo, and you're like, that's a banger. I think that's a banger. And that's kind of how I felt with this one. Titles and thumbnails is like maybe the most stressful part of being a YouTuber, because they are so important to the success of your video. Like imagine like, I'm trying to think of a good analogy for titles and thumbnails. But it's just like, imagine like you go to work and your boss is like, I got a project for you, and if you do well on the project, I'm going to give you a real big bonus. It's going to be like a life-changing bonus. And if you do bad on the project, you're going to get fired. But I can't tell you what you need to do good on the project. And also, I'm not going to give you any feedback afterwards so that you could do better in future projects. It's kind of like that. That's a pretty messy analogy, but it's just like, it's just this thing that you have to do, and you never know if you're doing it right. Because even if a video does well, that doesn't necessarily mean it's because of the title and thumbnail. But you still, like, the title and thumbnail is still super important. I've seen it before. Like, many times I have changed the title and or thumbnail of a dead video, and it immediately started taking off. Like, literally, a good title and thumbnail is like, it can be a 10x or 100x multiplier for a video's views. It's pretty crazy. And when you make money from YouTube, that's significant. So you like have to get it right. Like, the difference between getting 10,000 views on a video and getting 500,000 views on a video or 1 million views is massive. Like, if you get 10,000 views on a video, you might make like, I don't know, like $60 on that video or something like that. But if you get 1 million views, that could like be life-changing. And if not life-changing, it's probably covering your bills for the next couple months. And literally the title and thumbnail could be the difference between those two things. It's pretty crazy. So it's pretty stressful. I think I'm getting better at it, but it's probably the most stressful part. But I've been trying to, because what'll happen is I'll just be so stressed out. I'll be like in Photoshop, I'll make like 8 different variations, and I'm just like, this isn't right. It has to be perfect. And I just like basically get to this like spiral of like self-doubt and imposter syndrome. So I'm trying to like not do that and just get to a point where I'm like, this is pretty good. We'll see how it works. And now, like, now you can like A/B test thumbnails, so you can upload 3 and YouTube will test them and see which one works better. So that eases some of the tension, but yeah. That's why a lot of these boycotts feel pretty performative a lot of the times. I understand why Target, Amazon, Starbucks are bad, but they are all too big to fail by boycott alone. Yeah, I mean, the only way a boycott can work is if millions of people do it at the same time. And it's very hard to get that level of coordination on anything. It's very hard to get that level of people to care about one thing at the same time. But I think it can work in small ways. Like, I could be wrong, but I think part of the reason, like, you remember when Jimmy Kimmel basically got canned? I think part of the reason that they brought him back is because a lot of people canceled like their Disney Plus subscriptions and canceled like their Disney resort reservations and things like that. And I think Disney was like, I don't think it was like gonna hurt Disney's bottom line, but I don't think Disney liked the precedent that was setting. And I think that contributed to their decision to reinstate Jimmy Kimmel. So I definitely think it can be useful, but you just have to get a lot of people involved, and it has to be something that genuinely like makes them think about their bank account. The whole subscription model and lack of ownership with digital media makes me feel zero shame for pirating. Yeah, I mean, I can see that argument also. But again, it's not going to change until like millions of people do it. And even after that, they're going to resist in every way that they can. Have I seen Hamnet? Nope. I don't know what that is. Titles and thumbnails are like trying to cook a gourmet meal for a customer that hasn't ordered yet. Yeah, I mean, yeah, kinda. Your video could be perfect, but if you messed up the thumbnail and title, it could never be seen. Yeah. And I've thought about that, and the thing about it is, I don't think there's a better way to do it, because how else are they going to show people? How else are they going to give people a choice of different videos to watch? It has to be some sort of image or text, right? The only other option is the TikTok method, where you just go into a feed and things are automatically playing. And I would not say that I prefer that to the title and thumbnail setup. Titles and thumbnails are the hardest for my channel because it's so niche. Yeah, well, that, all this said, I still think the best thing that most people can do is just learn how to make better videos. To me, that is the main thing that has worked to make my channel grow. But I do think getting better at titles and thumbnails is a skill that every YouTuber should do. And I think you can get, it's one of those things I think you can get to a sort of competent level pretty easily, but like getting beyond that hump to where you like really understand it, that's difficult. And there's definitely people that know how to do it. Like if you look at some of these really, really big YouTubers, a lot of them just every thumbnail's a banger, and you're like, man, I want to click on that. I think Mark Rober, if you're familiar with Mark Rober, is a huge YouTuber. I think his thumbnails are like absolutely genius. I used to think Mr. Beast was really good at thumbnails, but a lot of his thumbnails lately are just kind of weird to me. I like a lot of the older ones better. Are your videos on Nebula different, like less regard for censorship / copyright bots? YouTube is getting weird with self-censorship. The only time that happens is if I have to edit a video in order to put it on YouTube. Like if I'll like a lot of times I upload a video on YouTube and then it'll get flagged, and then I have to decide, do I want to dispute this copyright thing or do I just want to edit the video? And sometimes I just edit the video. And in that case, the original will be uploaded to Nebula almost every time. But usually it's just a pretty minor change, like I'll cut out one line or shorten a scene or something. But most of the time nowadays, I just dispute the copyright claim, and it usually works because it's fair use. I think that the copyright, these companies know that they wouldn't win in court if they pursued this. So they usually just, what they do, which is annoying. Like, so when you do a copyright dispute on YouTube, you have to wait 30 days. You have to give the copyright holder 30 days to respond. And usually what they do is they just wait out the 30 days, which is so annoying and cringe. And I don't know if they do it on purpose, but it's very annoying because you're just sitting there in limbo for 30 days. But eventually, the copyright claim goes away, and so far, that's worked most of the time. Um, I suppose one of these companies could take me to court if they wanted to. They would probably lose though if they did that, because I think my videos are pretty clearly fair use. I don't think you could argue that. Stream old school Super Mario Brothers 3 next. I mean, I could do that if people wanted to watch it. Mario Brothers 3 is hard though. I don't know, maybe I'm just bad. I don't know if I ever beat that game. This is going to sound like a weird question, but do you care if other cultures eat dogs/cats, considering we eat cows, chickens, pigs? I ask this because my vegan friend brings this up a lot. Um, I guess the short answer is no, I don't care. But I don't know. This is the whole like vegan thing or animal rights thing. Some people feel very, very strongly about that, and that's one of those things that people will get actually mad about. So I don't know. But yeah, I don't care. And I think that's a fair question from a vegan, because it's pretty inconsistent. If you think it's okay to eat cows and pigs and stuff and not dogs and cats, you really need to have an answer for that, I think. If you want to be like logically consistent. I mean, you could say like dogs and cats are smarter than cows and chickens, but they're not smarter than pigs. I think pigs are smarter than dogs, if I'm not mistaken. But if not, they're at least on the same level of intelligence. Do you think Joey and Phoebe would have made a good screen couple? Yeah, I think so. Anytime they pair Joey and Phoebe together, it worked. So I think that would have worked. And I think a lot of people would have wanted to see that. In fact, I think then it's never happened on the show, but my head canon is that Joey and Phoebe probably hooked up at some point. It was probably just, just a night of passion. I don't think they ever like dated, but they probably hooked up. Mr. Beast is getting the sweet Amazon money now. That's true, but he's also spending a lot of money too. But I think he probably at this point is there's more coming in than going out. But I think that's kind of one of the things that makes Mr. Beast stand out, is like this man will spend $10 million on a video. Like he doesn't seem to care about profiting about profiting on his content. But that's part of why they go so massively viral, because the crazy shit that is happening is just something you cannot see anywhere else. What is your own definition of a sitcom? A sitcom is a television show where the main purpose of that show is to make people laugh. I think that shows that aren't sitcoms can be funny, but if the main purpose isn't making people laugh, then I don't say it's a sitcom. I probably call it a dramedy or a comedy drama. And there's borderline cases, but that's the way I see it. So like I think the examples that I always use are the Wonder Years. The Wonder Years is funny for sure, but the Wonder Years is definitely more about telling a story than telling jokes. And then on the flip side, you have a show like Roseanne, which is very dramatic and very dark sometimes. But Roseanne is definitely mostly about telling jokes. So it's a sitcom. So you can have both. But and there are probably some that are kind of straddling the line. I'm trying to think of an example. Like I was gonna say Scrubs, but I think Scrubs is pretty solidly a sitcom. I think Scrubs is definitely mostly about telling jokes, even though it does have like serious stories and stuff. How badly does that 30 days hurt the video when it happens? It doesn't necessarily hurt the video. Well, so if a video gets, so there's different things that can happen when video gets claimed. The video could just straight up get taken down, or blocked. It won't get like deleted, but it'll get blocked. And in that case, that sucks because people can't see your video. But if you dispute it, they will reinstate the video after a couple of days while the dispute process happens. But you have to give up 2 days of people seeing your video, and you're being demonetized for a month. So you don't get paid for a month, which sucks. Now, they say that the money gets put in an escrow and then it gets released back to you. I have to assume that that's true. I don't know if it's true. I mean, you get money, but there's no way for me to check if the money that they give me is what I should have been paid. So I don't know. So at the end of the day, it's not that bad. It's just annoying because you can't be 100% sure that you're going to win the dispute. I have never not won a dispute so far, but there's always the chance that I will. So that sucks. And then your video sometimes gets taken down for a few days, which sucks. I don't think it affects like the view count or anything like that. And then you get paid later than you're supposed to, which sucks. I just realized your Kevin video got 1.5 million views. That's really amazing. Yeah, it's doing pretty well. I swear between the sun and the flying fish, I always end up throwing the controller at the TV. Yeah, that sun is a menace. I think dogs and cats were purposely bred to be companion animals, so there's a difference. I guess. But that's not like a logical difference. It's just kind of like an emotional difference. Did I ever watch the Frasier reboot? I haven't. Nope. I came across an online thread where people were talking shit about me in one of my videos. Try not to let it bother me, but it's pretty hard. Any tips on how to move on? Well, so for one, if you're gonna like be a YouTuber, this is just something you have to get used to. People are gonna talk shit about you, especially if you want to like be a big YouTuber. The bigger you get, the more shit people talk about you. And maybe you've experienced this, but when you have a video that starts to pick up in the algorithm and starts to get a lot of views, or if it like goes viral, that's when all of the weirdos start showing up in your comments, and a lot of them are negative and shitty. So that's just part of the job. So that's something you have to deal with. When it comes to stuff like this, I think there's a lot of there's different ways that you could deal with it, and you kind of have to choose what works for you. So one thing that I keep in mind is when people go on the internet, you have to think about what type of person goes on the internet and talks shit about some random person that they don't know and have never met and probably will never meet. Like, what kind of person does that? Probably not a happy person. Probably not a person who's fulfilled in their own life. And when you think about it that way, you realize this is not a you problem. This is a them problem. Because that's just not a thing that, regular people do. Um, and then you also can think like, well, maybe this person has their own issues. Maybe they're having a bad day and they just want to take it out on someone else. So I think about that a lot. I just don't think that is behavior that, a well-adjusted person does. And that makes me think about it in a different way. Now if the things that they're saying are true, that's another thing. Sometimes people are just bad at expressing themselves. Like I've gotten criticism on videos that had some truth to it and that I actually used as criticism that helped me improve my videos, but it was just delivered in a shitty way. And some people are just mean. You probably met people like this in your life. Some people are just mean, and that's just how it is. You can't like be stressed about stuff that you can't change. You just can't change how people are. Another strategy to dealing with stuff like this is to embrace the negative feeling that you have. When someone says something and it bothers you, embrace that negativity. Like, don't like embrace the negativity, but like sit in the feeling. Think about why that bothered you. Like, try to think about why does it bother you so much? What is the feeling? Analyze it. This is a good tip just in life in general. Whenever you have negative feelings, don't try to avoid the negative feelings. Don't feel guilty about having the negative feelings. Don't try to not let it bother you. Let it bother you. Analyze it. Think about it. And when you think about something in a rational way and try to analyze it, I think that helps take the sting off it and helps you understand why that bothers you. And when you understand why, it can help you get over it. So those are some of the ways that I think about it. I don't know if any of that's helpful to you, but my name was Earl. My name was Earl is on the line. That's actually a really good answer. I think that was on the line because I think My Name is Earl is probably more about the story, but it's also, I don't know, there's a lot of jokes. I think that's a good answer. I like that. Even weirder question. You think actors who are siblings on a TV show have hooked up? Could you do the same if you're an actor? I'm sure that's happened. Absolutely. I can't think of any examples that I know of. Could I do the same? I don't know. I mean, probably. I've watched most of Curb Your Enthusiasm and I loved it. Is Seinfeld as good? I think it is as good. It's different though. I mean, it kind of has that same sort of nihilistic cynicism as Curb Your Enthusiasm, but it's definitely a different type of show. But I think if you like Curb, you probably will like Seinfeld. Oh yeah, the Brady Bunch actors. I think I've heard about that. That's how copyright holders use the claim system to bully creators for things that are certainly within their fair use criteria. Yeah, you have to be careful with that though, because some people are petty enough that they will take you to court. Because a lot of people, especially if they have money, a lot of people use the legal system to intimidate people. So I'm lucky in that I don't have like a bunch of money to like hire lawyers and stuff, but I have contacts that I can ask for help if that happens. I know not everybody has that. Um and I just know that I would win if I was taken to court. But it would suck. I don't want it to happen. But we've seen it before a few times. Ethan Klein from H3 famously was sued by someone who was mad that he, did a unflattering commentary video about one of their videos and took him to court and lost. Ray William Johnson got sued for criticizing or for commentary on a video, and he won his case. Like, it's happened several times. I think a lot of people have issues with meat because there's a lot of evidence showing animal cruelty. It's one thing to kill something quickly, as in hunting and torturing and cooking animals alive. Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the main reasons people become vegan, I think. Hi, just stopping by to say I really enjoyed your Kevin Can F Himself video. I like your ability to break stuff down. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I found that super helpful. Yeah, that's just how I think about it. Also, maybe you just stumbled on that thread or whatever, but don't go seeking stuff like that out. It's just it's unhealthy. I used to like search myself on like Reddit and stuff to see what people were talking about me. Bad idea. Don't do that. I don't think that's what you did, but maybe that is what you did, but but yeah, don't do that. And yeah, you guys should subscribe to Fredster. It's actually good videos. Anytime I left a mean comment is because something was wrong with me. I feel bad about it. A lot of mean commenters probably regret it. Yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, I'm not immune. I've left shitty comments too, and I always regret it. I never look back at a mean comment and I'm like, I'm proud that I did that. It literally has never happened. It's so easy to type something mean out and forget about it. I'm sure it was 5 seconds of brain power and they moved on. That's true also. They spent 5 seconds typing on it and you've spent weeks being upset about it. So it's like you're giving them so much power for something that they put no effort in. When Kevin mentioned her wanting to go to Paris, that reminded of Revolutionary Road. The unhappy wife in that movie was desperately trying to convince her husband to move there. Oh, I've never seen that. The actor for Dexter Morgan and Deb were married for a brief moment IRL. Yeah, I was trying to see if I knew any examples from any of the shows that I know about. I think the show that I know the most about the behind the scenes of is Boy Meets World, and I don't think that happened for any of them. The closest thing on that show that was weird to me was it came out. I don't think anyone knew until like way later, but Danielle Fisher, who played Topanga, was dating Matt Lawrence, who played Jack on Boy Meets World, and it's just so weird to think of them together. Did you have to wait for your hair to be long before you made it into dreads, or was it progressive? No, it was completely natural and progressive. I mean, I just have the hair texture that if I just leave it alone, it just mats up together, and so just every now and then, I just have to rip it apart so it doesn't become one massive dread. But yeah, my hair forms like it naturally. It's definitely possible to wait until your hair gets long to form them into dreads. That's something that people do, but that is not what I did. Thanks for all the great content. Keep it up, sir. Have a great night. Great night to you too. I'm actually probably not going to be streaming for too much longer. I do got a few things to do before bed. Have you dealt with fraudulent copyright claims? I've heard they're getting worse. I've had some sketchy claims, but I've so far been able to get rid of them pretty easily. I don't think I've had any like super malicious actors that are trying to just like steal money from me. I don't think that's happened. But I've had people do some like kind of sketchy stuff where like sometimes, like for example, one time I used some music that my brother made in one of my videos. So I obviously had permission to use it. But my brother had licensed that music for someone else and they made a song with it. But it wasn't a exclusive license. But they copyright claimed me for that song. But I just disputed it and like I literally am related to the person who owns this. And it went away. So I've had stuff like that, but I haven't had any like super malicious people, luckily. I was searching my username on Reddit. Yeah. Yes, when I in the middle of me saying that, I was like, you know what? He probably was searching himself, huh? Yeah, don't do that. It's every now and then you might read something cool, especially if you know that seeing something negative is going to ruin your day. Like why even put yourself through that? I wish that I could, on your YouTube dashboard, you go to YouTube Studio and the comments are right there. I wish I could just remove that. I don't know how to remove it. I don't want to see it. Like the thing with like the comments in like the first 2 to 3 days of a video are all chill, and let's be fair, like 99% of comments are cool, but as we all know, all it takes is one shitty comment to like really ruin your mood. And so, but as especially if a video is like really picking up, as it gets more and more views, you start getting more and more people who aren't in your audience and who don't give a shit about you and who are more willing to say weird and mean stuff. And so after a few days, I tend to stop looking at the comments on a video. But whenever you go to your YouTube dashboard, there's a section where it just shows you the recent comments, and it's like, Can I get rid of this? I don't want to see this. What do you think about Brooklyn Nine-Nine? I love Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I think it is one of the better shows of the past 10 years. But that's just kind of my vibe. Like Michael Schur makes the type of shows that I like. And I guess that a lot of people like cuz all of his shows are popular, but I love his shows because they're all very positive and optimistic, and they're about like friendship and like, you know, I really like the vibe of his shows, and Brooklyn Nine-Nine really has that vibe. Thank you for the stream, and thank you, chat. You've been great. Yeah, thanks for stopping by. Yeah, I'll probably end the stream here in a sec. Random aside, I click notifications for old channels that are inactive in case they come back. And a few have, but it's crypto live streams. Think they sold the channel or got hacked? It could be either one. Yeah, it could literally be either one. There's like websites where you can just go buy YouTube channels, and it's not that expensive. Like you can buy a YouTube channel with 500,000 subscribers for like $1,000, which, you know, $1,000 is not a small amount of money, but it's cheaper than I would expect for that. So it would be quite simple for someone to buy a YouTube channel and start putting crypto on it. But it's also possible they just got hacked. It's kind of a, I think if I think if all of the older videos have been taken down, then they probably got hacked. Because I imagine they would leave the older videos up just in case they get views. But yeah, I don't know. I've thought about, well, I haven't seriously thought about selling my channel, but it has crossed my mind before. You know, in those times where you're just really broke and you're just like, man, what can I do for money? I had one guy offer, he literally said, I think he said, he offered me, what did he offer me? Basically offered me a whole bunch of money. Not like a whole, it was like in the 50,000 range for my channel. And this is when my channel was pretty small. Or like not small, maybe when I had like 60,000 subscribers. He offered me like $50,000 in exchange for, I think, ownership. I think he wanted full ownership of the channel. Like he said I could still make the videos and stuff, but he wanted to own the channel. And I was like, absolutely not. And honestly, at that time, I probably should have took, well, it's not that I should have took it, but that would have been a really bad deal for him, because at the time my channel was not making that much money. I think he like really didn't understand YouTube. He just kind of, or maybe he saw the potential. Maybe he's like, in the future this channel is going to be bigger. But I don't think so. I think he was just thought he could make a quick buck, which he wouldn't have. But for me, that's not a good deal either, because it is, you know, where I am now, it wouldn't have been worth it. If I was in this moment right here now, having taken that deal, I would be very regretful of it. It would have been such a terrible idea. But it would have been nice to get $50,000. And I'm not like 100% sure how serious. Like, we never got to a point where it was like a serious negotiation, but it was someone that I knew had the money. So it could have happened. But the thing is, if I got $50,000 back then, I probably would have blown it on like alcohol and like video games. So I would have nothing to show for it. I'm slightly better with money now. I've historically been absolutely terrible with money. That's a thing that I've had to learn over time. And I still think that I'm maybe like a 7.5 out of 10 when it comes to money. I still have a lot to learn, but I'm a lot better. I used to be like a 1 out of 10. All the videos were still up. Yeah, I would lean towards probably sold. Maybe they just needed some cash and they didn't want to do YouTube anymore. Honestly, if you don't plan to do YouTube anymore, it might be something that you consider. Like, it's very disappointing for your audience, but if you make like a quick, I don't know how big the channel is, but you can make a quick $1,000 or a quick $5,000, whatever. Rich people just like thinking about investing in anything. It's hard to get them to go all in if you take them seriously. That is true. Man, I don't know, whenever you watch, if you ever have some extra time, see if you can find like a Zoom meeting. Like, every now and then these things get leaked, or even sometimes they're just public. But if you find like a Zoom meeting between investors or just a bunch of business people talking about business and stuff, it is so bizarre. It's so like disconnected from real life. And it's not necessarily like, I don't get the sense that a lot of these like rich business people are actually all that competent or intelligent. They just happen to have a lot of money and just like throwing it around. It's really, I don't know, it's hard to describe. Like, I'm a type of guy, I would like I would like to have more money. I think most people probably would. But man, I have no desire to like hang out with like venture capitalists and angel investors and shit like that. Like, they're all so weird. They're like sociopaths. Like, it's crazy. Anyway, I think I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream. I want to say thank you to everyone for hanging out with me once again. If you don't know, I stream most Fridays and most Thursdays. On Thursdays, we stream um, video games. I've been recently playing Disco Elysium, so if you want to check that out, come check out the stream next Thursday. And next Friday, we'll do another stream like this. I took a little bit of break for the holidays, but I'm gonna try to get back on track here. If you haven't seen my most recent video, you should go check it out. It seems like many of you have, but go check it out. It's about a show called Kevin Can Fuck Himself, and It's been very popular, surpassed 1 million views, which is crazy. So go check that out if you haven't yet. I'm not sure when the next video will come out. I'm gonna try to come out with a video this month, but we'll see if that happens. If not, though, it'll be next month for sure. I don't want to go 2 full months without a video. I guess that's all the things I want to say. You know, I do want to say double check and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Sometimes people watch videos, but then you're not subscribed. So double check and see if you're subscribed. And literally the only reason is because I like to see the number go up. It makes me feel good. So do that. And, you know, if you want to make sure you don't miss the streams, the best way to do that is to, you know, click the notification bell and all that stuff that you hear every YouTuber say. It's true. That's what it's for. I think that's about it, though. I'll probably see you next week. And just trying to see if there's anything else I want to plug. Join the Discord. If you want to chat with me and other cool people, you can join my Discord server. And yeah, that's about it. I'll close out with a quote from Michael Brooks, who says, "Be ruthless with systems, but be kind with people." And I think that that's what we should be doing in this weird day and age that we're in right now. Be kind to each other, but, you know, stand up for what's right. And I'll end on that. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.